This is Melani, my supervisor at Highland Children's Aid, working with the Family Enhancement Team, and we're just going to have a practicum interview to start our collaborative relationship working together. So my first question is, can you share what your specific role is within Highland Shores Children's Aid?
So I am a family services supervisor, meaning that I supervise a team within our family services unit. My job is to provide direct consultation and supervision to staff around cases that they're working with, to provide direction and consultation for court process. And really to provide support and consultation to the team. I don't see my role as the case manager. They are the case manager. My role is to support them in that role, in their role with that. Being a supervisor means not just being part of a team. It's also a leadership role for the organization in regards to initiatives and our mission, vision, and values, and the philosophy that we hold of strength-based, solution-focused practice. And it's really about modeling behavior, and it's certainly more than just making sure that my name's on a document.
Before it goes anywhere. Perfect. So can you speak a little bit about the practice framework that guides the Family Enhancement Team specifically?
So we are bound by the standards, the ministry standards, which are outline how often we have to see families. The difference with Family Enhancement is that we have an internal practice, of working with families in a strength-based, solution-focused manner. So it is based off the Alberta model, the Alberta response model, which is really based in signs of safety. So that is a philosophy and framework that the family is responsible for safety of the child. It is not our responsibility to keep that child safe. It's really the family's. And how we work with doing that is by letting the family really determine what safety, how they're going to create safety, and to be able to determine their own path. So if the end goal is safety for the child, how we get there, which is non-negotiable, how we get there is negotiable. What's going to work for that family? So rather than going in and prescribing that they have to do counseling, some families just aren't able to do that for a number of reasons. We need to work with them with what are they able to do, and what are they going to be able to achieve and be successful in. So it's about creating small change. It's about celebrating those small successes and moving towards an end goal. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. So in speaking to the signs of safety framework, because my understanding is it's a really heavily used framework within FET, do you believe that this framework could be a basis of a collaborative relationship between myself, you, and other FET team members?
I think that's exactly what it's about. I think that while the signs of safety is a framework for practice of how we assess risk, it is relationship based. And so what it really does is speak to the values that most of us as human beings hold, and really speaks to how we need to treat each other and work with each other. It's not just about how we work with families, it's how we work with all people, including our supervisor, our colleagues, our team. And I think that this team in particular has really bought into the nature of signs of safety, in the sense of it is relationship based, and that means we have to build relationships. What we know is that we can't affect change if we don't build relationships. Well, that's not just about clients, that's about all of us. So working on the team means being able to really work well together.
Makes sense. Perfect. So this is a really good pathway for this, but what are some of the core values that guide practice with FET?
So one is about creating small change, focus on creating small change. So that falls directly in line with the signs of safety. While we know that the end goal may be a big one. We also know if we try to jump every hurdle at once, it's impossible. So we create, small hurdles so that we can create and celebrate small successes as we go. I think the other piece is don't confuse case details with judgment. Meaning that it is very easy to see a parent who is struggling and for whatever reason, maybe it's about substance use, and say, they're a drunk or they're an addict. But those are judgments. We need to look at how their use impacts the child and really remain focused on case details and keep judgments out of it. I think the other thing is about offering choices. We have to offer choices because what works for one family doesn't work for another family. And when we become prescriptive, like we used to in child welfare back in the old RAM days, things don't fit and things don't work. And so when we allow the family to determine their own path to safety, it has far better outcomes for children. We know that all families have signs of safety. Even some of the most horrific cases we've ever worked in, all families have signs of safety. So what are we going to do to build on those things? Those are the kind of core philosophies that we hold here. And really it's about cooperating with the person. So regardless of what has happened, we have to cooperate with the person, not the abuse. So we really have to show that each person is a person worth doing business with, regardless of what's happened.
Right. Which is I really kind of resonate with that because I think we're all people. Exactly. And it doesn't matter where we come from. It's more so, who we are and where we want to go in life. So that's really...
And I think that it's easy to make judgments without knowing someone's story. We have a lot of people that we work with who have unresolved trauma. And that unresolved trauma causes them to act and think and do things in ways which we sometimes find hard to understand. But we have to seek to understand what's happening, why it's, and why it worries us, and then what are the things that they do that really work well, and try and focus on doing more of those things.
Right. Perfect. So that kind of, my next question was to speak about what your kind of personal philosophy is about the work that is done on FET. Is there any additional thing you would add to that?
So to be quite honest, when I first came to FET in 2012, the program had been around since 2008. I didn't know much about it. I had never really had much interaction with the Family Enhancement Team. I was a supervisor in Quinte West, and when they asked me to take over FET, it needed a lot of work. It needed an overhaul. The program had gotten way off the rails. And so my first order of business was to bring everybody together and talk to them about how this is not my program. I may be the supervisor of the team, but I don't own it. We all own it together. And so the team really worked at what are the values, what are the things that we need to see as a team to know that we're doing a good job, and we set out deliverables and measures that we felt we could meet as a team, and that helped guide. And then each year we get better and better and better at knowing what those are. So for me, I started out on a team where it was like, okay, this needs program development, and that's a strength of mine. But as time went on, I recognized very quickly the work that happens here and the value of the work that happens here and how that fits with my own personal values. I know that I struggle when we get these calls saying I need my child out of my house, or these files where these kids are literally about to be abandoned by the only people who've ever cared for them, and that's a real struggle for me. It's something that tends to fire me up. But when I watch the team in action with these families, I get really inspired around the work that can happen. And I've seen families go from, I need this child out of my house today, to hugging in the parking lot, crying together and saying, we're going to get through this. I've seen this team move families in a way that that really speaks to their values, which mirror my values, which I think really works for me, which is why in 5 years I've never thought about leaving. And I am exceptionally passionate about the work that we do here.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It sounds like, from what you've said, it sounds like you really appreciate like the power that's in family, as well as, you know, a team as a family, and how it's really important to work together and be really strength-based.
And I think sometimes we have to change our idea of what a family is.
Yeah,
right?
because families aren't just mom, dad, brother, sister.
Families are made up of all sorts of different things, right? It's really about connection.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I really like that. Perfect. So throughout my last placement here, I really worked hard to incorporate feedback into my experiences. And so this year I also want to do the same, because I think feedback is something we all need continuously throughout life and those kinds of things. So in this year's placement, what do you believe are the things that are necessary in characteristics or actions, or the best way to obtain feedback from you as well as other workers?
So for me, I tend to provide feedback both ways. I feel like this field, we tend to hear it from our families in particular when they don't think we are doing a good job, which is fine. But sometimes that's the only feedback we're hearing. So I try to really make sure that everyone hears not only the things that, okay, what could we do differently next time, but here's the things we did really, really well. And one of the tools that we use is appreciative inquiry. So during team meetings, during check-ins, during the times when we're together, we're going to learn from each other. Because I think you are going to do things that you're going to be proud of. And we're going to use a tool called appreciative inquiry to flush that out, so that your colleagues can say, hey, that really worked well, I'm going to try that next time. So we all learn from each other. And that's part of feedback. I think the other thing is that the team is very good at, when they've noticed good behavior from each other, they're very good at telling me that. They're very good at sharing that. So then I'm able to use that information and take it as part of evaluations. So I'm assuming that there's an evaluation at the end of your placement. Even if there weren't, I would be providing what we label as a 3-column conversation. So I would be having a conversation with you about the things that I see that you did really well, the things that I see where, you know, there could be some areas of development, and then the things that, and then the steps on how we would move forward with that development, right? That's how I do my performance appraisals, and that's how I see the feedback being most useful. I'm not here to cheerlead, so I'm not here to tell you great job. I'm here to say great job because this is what you did, right? And I want you to identify good work that you've done so that we can share that with others too.
Right. And I have like a midpoint evaluation as well as a final, so that'll be a great opportunity, midpoint wise, to have some really good feedback. Perfect. So what are some characteristics you believe create and foster a collaborative relationship between like myself and placement supervisor, as well as myself and other frontline vet workers?
So for me, it's about trust. There has to be trust and safety. So this job is tough. There are days when we face things that no person should have to talk about with kids. There are things that kids go through that they should never have to. And there are times when our own experiences trigger us. There are times when experiences trigger us. And we have to be able to trust each other and have safety to be able to talk about those things. So I'm not talking about a therapy session, but as you know, we have team meetings and check-ins. That is our time where we can all connect and share with each other where we're at and how we're doing. And sometimes we use what's called black humor, meaning that to people outside of the field, to people outside on the street, it would seem very insensitive. It's a way of coping. It's a mechanism for us to be able to deal with the things that we have to see each day. If we don't have safety, then people don't feel that they can share those thoughts and feelings without feeling like they're going to get in trouble later.
Mm-hmm. Right.
My goal is to create safety in an environment where people feel like they know that each team member has their back. They know that if they need something today, they're going to get it, because tomorrow it's going to be somebody else's turn.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that by creating safety and trust. One of the ways I do that, I think, is I'm a very strong advocate for this team. When things aren't okay, when things aren't managed, whatever it is, I will go to bat for them. And that helps them know that I've got their back, which then in turn helps create the environment that says, then you're all going to have each other's backs. And it's never been an issue on this team.
Mm-hmm.
We all work collaboratively. We know that if Justin is struggling today, we're all going to band together and we're going to help him out, because we know that next week maybe Chrissy's going to be the one who needs us,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's Lorraine. And that's the way we do it, is everybody works together, because that's what helps create better outcomes for children and families.
Mm-hmm. And I think I've definitely seen that last year when we had to bring a client into care from Justin's.
Yeah.
And it was definitely like you could see the group support of like essentially giving a team hug of, we'll get through this and, help work through it and everything like that. So I've definitely seen that in action, which is really, really nice.
I think some of that is having a small team. There's only 4 staff.
Mm-hmm.
So part of being part of a small team is being able to work together and work collaboratively and be supportive of one another. And I have never had to, but I think I've been very clear that I won't tolerate anything less than that on the team.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had to address it. And I've never had to say it that blatantly, but I think my message is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Perfect. So can you share some of your personal strengths and potential areas of future development as a supervisor?
So some of my strengths are that I am a strong advocate for my team. Some of that I do really well with program development. That I have had, not on family enhancement, but the other pieces of my work. I've had workers who've had some performance difficulties, and I'm highly organized, so I'm fairly strong at performance management. I am a strong believer in signs of safety. I am a practice lead. I am an implementation lead. Part of my role is I'm the lead for community awareness. Therefore, it's my responsibility to work with our community, the stakeholders within our community, about why and how and what we're doing over here, and really about how that's going to create better outcomes for kids. So I'm excited about that. I have lots of different experiences. So I come to the table with a lot of different things, and I think that I am humble enough to know that I don't know it all, and that just because I'm the supervisor doesn't mean that I know more than the staff who are on the team. I learn from them every day, and I'm okay to say that. So I think that's a strength. For me, areas of development are sometimes I get blinded by my passion and my support of the team that I don't always see when maybe they haven't done things that they needed to do. And so I've gotten better at stepping back and saying, yep, you've done that really well, but here's a couple of things we've missed. I try very hard to use appreciative inquiry. One of my areas, for sure, one of my goals over the next year is to get better at that and to use it more frequently. I think one of my areas would be I need to learn how to say no, because I tend to do a whole bunch of things, right? So I supervise Family Enhancement. I supervise 2 protection staff. I supervise a program called Helping Hands.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. As I said, I'm a Signs of Safety practice lead. I'm an implementation lead. I am the agency lead for Assist Suicide Prevention Training. I am the chair of the TAP-C committee, the Arson Prevention Program for Children for Hastings and Prince Edward. I am just been asked to write and research reopen policy and procedure. I have to do 2 RBAs, which are results-based analysis, for both FET and Helping Hands. I have a lot on my plate. Yet when things come up, I continue to say yes. So one of the things that I need to work on is actually saying no and not giving I mean, if you've ever looked at my calendar, you will see that things are kind of insane. So I need to give myself permission to take a breath
and
right?
say no.
And say no.
For sure. All right, so I'll wrap up with just 2 more quick questions. So the first one is burnout can be very common within social work environments and stuff like that, as we know. So what do you believe to be most important factor in not necessarily avoiding burnout, because sometimes it's, you can't avoid it, but managing it and ensuring that you're, reflecting on your own mental health and stuff like that?
So the message that I give to the team is be open and honest. I try to create an environment where they do feel safety and trust, so that they can say to me, you know what, I'm just not doing okay, or here's where I'm at, and we can work with their caseload. They can work from home for a couple of days. They can take some time off. Whatever it is that they need to do to recharge. For me, sometimes it's just recognizing I can't manage this today, and I just need to be home. And sometimes just a day at home, playing with the kids, doing whatever, is enough for me to say, okay, I've kind of gotten it back. One thing that I try to do as a team is we have check-in every Monday morning. I try to keep it light. I try to make it a time for team connection, where people have the opportunity to come and connect. I try not to make it so, okay, we have to do this policy. I try to not do those things. Excuse me, I try twice a year to have an all-day off-site meeting where we get to do things that are more relaxing, team-building things as opposed to such business structured. So while we are doing work, it's a different way of doing the work. At Christmas time, we typically go someplace, somebody's house or whatever. We've gone bowling for the afternoon. We've done a bunch of different things for team building exercises. In the summertime, in the spring, sort of June-ish, we've gone to Lorraine's trailer, where we've sat on the dock and done our business there, and played games and did things in the afternoon as a team building exercise. So I try to give them 2 different meetings where they can have that opportunity to kind of recharge as a team. I think that, people have their own ways of dealing, whether it's through wellness as in the gym or working out or whatever, stress relief, or whether it's, through their faith, or whether it's through their family, or whatever it is. I always encourage people that those things have to come first. My philosophy is that this is what we do. It is not who we are. This is my job. It is not my life. Therefore, all those other things have to come, have to be important, right?
Right, for sure. Perfect. So finally, this will be our last question. And moving forward in our student-supervisor relationship, is there anything you feel you need from me in order to progress our relationship as a collaborative, supportive being throughout the year?
So I would suggest the same thing, just being open and honest, and I have an open door policy. My door is typically always open, and so if you're feeling like you need something from me, then I need you to be able to ask for it. The reality is, as you've heard, my calendar is quite busy. I'm busy, but I'm never too busy for people, and that's the way that it is. And so, I need you to take the initiative to say, I need this right now, because I may not notice that you are struggling. Not because I don't care, but because I'm not around you as much as some of the team,
yeah,
right?
For sure.
So it's just about taking the initiative to say, this is what I need. One thing that I do appreciate about you is that you do take the initiative to meet with the team and do the things that you need to do. You don't hold back and wait for me to say, okay, go ahead and do this or go ahead and do that, which is helpful. And I think that creates an environment where we all, you become part of the group that works together, and there's just an expectation that that's the way it's going to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Cool. Okay,
All right.
That's awesome. So thank you for taking the time to have my interview out of your very busy schedule. And other than that, we're good to go.
Perfect.